What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're doing well today. I got a new knife in from Vosteed. Let's get into it. All right, guys, really excited to check this out. This is the Shilin cutter from Vosteed, and the immediate comparison that you're going to want to draw is to the Nightshade. There are some differences here that we're going to dive into, but the first thing I want to point out, this is the second pivot lock knife that they've released. The first one was the Kilo, and I really like this lock a lot. I think it really cleans up the knife aesthetically. It really enhances the ergos because you don't have to have any extra cutout for frame locks or for liner locks or anything like that. I do prefer it to the crossbar lock, again, because it does keep it a very minimalist type look, and it really works very well for me. My Kilo has worked well. I will say that I feel like this one out of the box came better tuned. I don't know if that's just because they've had time to refine it. Maybe the one that I got on my Kilo was a little bit weaker, but I really like this one. And boy, oh boy, there is all kinds of means of deployment with this one. Now, the big difference is this is going to be about the size of a Nightshade, but it's going to have more of a leaf shape, more of a taller shape to that Shilin style blade. So I do like that. They did a nice job here. They did a crown spine. Really good placement of the thumb studs. It is completely out of the blade's path, but they work really well. Good jimping here on the back, even with the coating, that works pretty well. The pocket clip continues to be a little bit of an issue for me with Vosteed. I would really just like them to learn how to be able to extend the scales and move it up. When you're looking at the screw holes, it stops right here on the internal liner, and the liner actually goes all the way out to the peak here. So what I would just tell them to do is simply trade off, get rid of the lanyard hole, guys. Really, it's unnecessary. Only a handful of people really like it, and if you have to have it, have that scoop style that goes into your backspacer where it comes in at the top here, comes out at the bottom there, and it'll be out of the way and get that pocket clip up. You do have a G10 scale on this particular one. It does come, my version is 154 cm and G10, but it does come in L-Max and aluminum with a little bit of knurling on the handles. I really like the way that looked, but I wasn't sure because the dimensions made me feel like the size might be a little bit too small. So I wanted to go ahead and get the more affordable version. On this channel, it is considered a budget knife because it is under $100. So it just does squeak in with the 154 cm, the pivot lock, and the G10. Now, the pocket clip is not reversible on this one, and for me, I'm kind of glad that it's not, because it would have been like an indent right here because of the fact that they put their pocket clip too low. But I know that's going to be something that upsets lefties, because this really would be something that you could easily operate left-handed, and I think you would enjoy it. I did take this down to the garage to do a little bit of cutting with it. Going through the catalog paper, I noticed that the factory edge, I did a little bit of cutting with it, to be fair, but it did seem like the factory edge was just a little snaggy. I don't know if that's blade shape or if it was a little toothy on out of the box from the factory. Having said that, though, went through the cardboard just fine, and then I brought out a little bit of denim to demonstrate on table. First I cut with it on the cardboard in a utility grip, and no surprise here, this is a really fantastic utility cutter and lots of blades to go through the materials. Going through the denim, it needed a little bit more of an acute tip, and I don't know if that's my cutting board getting worn out and it can't really bite into anything because there's too many cut marks on it, so I may need to go ahead and swap out my cutting board or flip it over or something. But it did bite really well, considering it still has its factory edge on there, and no issues whatsoever going through any of that. Ergonomically comfortable in hand. I could feel the pocket clip, but it wasn't really too much of a hot spot. As I mentioned, the jimping was good. I think maybe one or two more jumps out here for me with the larger hands would have been nice, but I am able to easily get a 4-finger grip. I'm able to choke up into a nice spot where I'm still far enough back from the edge of the blade where it terminates. It does have a little bit of a tight edge termination, so you're going to run into that eventually. But the nice thing with the pivot lock and the stop pin here is it's way back. The stop pin is hitting, trying to find it because I found it before. Yeah, the stop pin is hitting right on the thick of it, so you could add a little bit of a sharpening tool here with no issues whatsoever. Detent is, like I mentioned earlier, dialed, man. It is nice tune to it, very fun to fidget with, very satisfying to deploy using all methods. I just really like their pivot lock system, and I think they continue to dial it in very nicely. Another thing that I want to mention, I have been cutting with it. This is just a coated blade. I don't believe it's PVD. It's definitely not DLC at this price point. But the coating that they're using is not, immediately disappearing like some of the cheap coatings that you see sometimes on some budget knives. This coating actually is holding up pretty well, and I was kind of concerned about that, but it's really not showing any marks, and I'll continue to give updates with that, but very happy to see that. I don't think left-handed or right-handed I ever felt like that lock was going to be disengaged. You got to be deliberate with the disengagement on it. Thumb studs work good, nice ramp to them. The jimping on here, I do like the tighter jimping that wraps around, but I think the placement with it being nice and tall makes it very satisfying to front flip. And it is small, but they did tight jimping, and they did take it out to the curve here, or the corner, the corner, and it's very satisfying to deploy, guys. I really like this. I don't think anything needs to be done with mine in particular. Very happy with that. Let's do some size comparisons. We'll weigh the knife, and then we'll jump into my thoughts and impressions. All right, guys, we got the Spyderco Manix 2 Lightweight on the table, and we got the CJRB Echo on the table, and you can see that the Shilin cutter is definitely a smaller EDC that still affords a lot of grip. Let's do a couple more size comparisons. I did want to do a couple of budget knife comparisons. I wanted to bring out the Sentinel Strike 2 from Civivi, and I wanted to bring out the Nice Guy from Kaiser, because the Nice Guy is also a 4-finger grip, but it's even smaller than the Shilin cutter, and the reason it has that 4 finger is because they did a nice long swooping scallop here, and you can really get a 4-finger grip on there, and I think that's an interesting point of reference for the Shilin cutter, because it's actually smaller still, the Nice Guy, than the Shilin cutter is, but that's where I wanted you to see that you can, when done properly, get a nice 4-finger grip. And then the Shilin cutter itself is giving you obviously more cutting edge overall when you take into account where it starts and where they finish. I do want to bring out one more really quick. I did want to go ahead and bring out the Ankilo. Mine's one of the very first runs of the Ankilo that came out there. I did the pre-order, but I wanted you to see, in case you thought maybe that the Ankilo was too big for you, or if you have an Ankilo and you're considering the Shilin cutter, this may be a really good size reference for you. Another thing that I want to point out is that they did contour the scales on the Shilin cutter, so it is a little bit thinner overall as far as how it feels. It's got a thinner blade stock, so it's going to be a little bit more slicey. I know that they came back on later runs of the Ankilo and made that pocket clip reversible. I don't know if it was just budget or whatnot. The other thing that I noticed too, it seems like there is a little bit more material around the button and the diameter here. Now, it could be that my particular button, the black one, might look like it, but what I'm looking at to try to determine that is I'm trying to look at where the second line that goes around is. They either move that line in a little bit, or they made the button itself a little bit bigger in diameter, but I do feel like that is a little bit of a difference here. They feel about the same. I will say I did tune mine up so my detent's a little bit more stout and a little bit heavier on the Ankilo, but I really actually like the way that it is on the Shilin cutter, so I may end up moving my detent out on the Ankilo a little bit to try to match it to this. This is perfect right here. Let me grab the scale. Let's check the weight on this one. All right, scale is out and on. Let's see what the weight is on the Shilin cutter with the pivot lock. So coming in at 3.6 for some reference against the Nice Guy. Nice Guy's 2.6. The Echo, Titanium Echo, coming in 3.1, So you got a little bit of weight here at 3.6. It's coming in a little bit heavier than the Echo. Now, compared to the Ankilo, which is coming in at 4.9, almost 9 ounces. They did a good job getting that weight down. That pivot lock system is obviously a little bit heavier. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. All right, guys, let's wrap up. Final thoughts and impressions. On my channel, I score on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is the worst, 10 is the best. Budget knives like this generally cap off at a 7. The reason being that is because we're looking at the materials limiting it where it goes to. The things that I really like, the cutting style, I like the crown spine, the means of deployment were all absolutely hit perfectly here. I have not missed at any point in time deploying this one here with any of the deployment methods. This is the best version of the pivot lock that I've encountered to date. It's really tuned very well. I like the contoured G10. I think ergonomically it's really nice. This is going to be a great EDC, not too big, definitely not too small. It's going to be a great size for everybody to enjoy. Pivot lock takes no time to get used to, even if you want to let it drop and you don't want to sling it. You see how sometimes I sling it? That's just so I can let off the button, because if I don't, that button does have enough grip to keep it from falling closed. But you can just let it drop and bounce and close, or you can figure out the timing and let it close as well. I mean, it's really not bad at all. I like the fact that they have the 154 cm and the G10 to get it under that $100 price point, making it a budget knife on this channel. And I love the fact that they have the L Max and the aluminum just slightly over 100, still making it very affordable. Some of the things that I don't like, it's really going to boil down to this pocket clip here. You guys really got to get this pocket clip up. The other thing that I would have liked to have seen, and that could be something that makes the price go way up, I would have loved to have seen them just match the hardware and the pocket clip to the pivot and the thumb studs on this one. It's kind of weird because when you look at some of the other ones, like the black coated blade, it has all black hardware on it. So, you know, that's a minor nitpick. I wouldn't take off from that too much on that. But for me on this one, I'm going to go 6.7. That's a really high score for a budget knife. Again, I like a lot about it. The 154 cm is done well, even though it is a coated blade, not PVD, not DLC. They did a nice coating on here. It's nice and thick. It's held up well with the little bit of cutting that I've been doing with it. I like the pivot lock a lot, and they nailed the deployment methods and the detent on this one. Again, pocket clip is the major thing that holds that back, and that is a big ding for me. And you know, for the size, it's a little heavy, but I understand with the pivot lock that is going to be a factor. And then you also have a really tall 154 cm blade here to get that really thin slicing geometry. But this is going to be an easy recommendation at the price point. I really like this one, and I definitely think it's worth a look and checking out. And price, like I said, great for the materials that you're getting. I like 154 cm. It's my favorite budget steel, period. There's nothing that I like more than it. Not 14C, not Nitro V, not VG10, not 10CR. 154 cm to me is like tops as far as when you get to the end of affordable steels that you can get. Let me know what you think about the Shilin cutter down in the comments below, guys. I really like this one, and I think they got a couple of really interesting combinations going on with this one. I actually chose this one with my own money. But let me know in the comments down below. Shout out to me in the comments down below if you're not interested in the Shilin cutter. Thanks for hanging out to this point of the video. Don't forget to hit the like on the way out, and the links in the description help the channel when you use those, guys. I appreciate it. Special thanks to my channel members. I'm out of here. I'll catch you next time. Have a great week. Peace.